Hey, what's good, Josh? Your boy Buck back with another video. Today we're going to be reacting to some Sunny V content. Apparently there's a guy that was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then it says 38 days later, he smoked somebody. So let's see what that's about.
On the 1st of February 2024, Sheldon Johnson appeared on the Joe Rogan Podcast.
Oh, he's black? Wow.
38 days later, he was arrested and charged with murder. It was episode 2096, with Joe Rogan, Sheldon Johnson, and another person named Josh Dubin. Josh had been on the podcast 6 different times before, explaining on an earlier episode that he was a lawyer who worked with wrongfully convicted felons.
We're here to get the word out about wrongful convictions.
In 3 out of 6 of Josh's appearances, he'd bring these wrongful convicts to tell their story.
He spent 3 decades in jail for murders that he didn't commit.
So when Josh...
So he was just bringing the members up there, bro. He was bringing straight skerners to the show. I can see how this happens.
in Sheldon Johnson, it seemed this would be...
Bro, Sheldon looked like Stevie J. That's crazy work.
...other positive episode, but it quickly became apparent that Sheldon was slightly different.
I figured we'd do something a little bit different. Typically, the person sitting to my right is someone that was wrongfully convicted. Sheldon is guilty.
Sheldon had only...
Alright. So, Sheldon was 48, was released from prison last year after serving 25 years for 2 violent armed robberies in New York. Alright, so what's his reason for wanting to be around, bro? I want to know.
Been released from a 25-year prison stint, but Josh had brought him on specifically as an example of someone who'd been given an unfair amount of time, believing Sheldon never deserved his 25 years in prison. Well,
Makes sense.
You can be the judge of that.
Not really.
In 1975, Sheldon Johnson grew up in the Martin Luther King Jr. Towers, aka a
Hey, look, it's GTA.
poverty-stricken housing project in Harlem, New York City. His entire family tree had been in and out of prisons.
My father was incarcerated. He did about 15 years. I was
Yeah.
incarcerated. My grandfather was incarcerated. My great-grandfather was a slave. And
He was destined, bro. All jokes aside, if Pop was incarcerated, Grandpa was incarcerated, great-grandpa was a slave. That's crazy work.
killed somebody when he was 12 years old.
While Sheldon was the only one in his family
Wait, what?
with functional hearing.
My mother's deaf. My father's deaf. My sister's
Hold
deaf.
on.
I grew up in a deaf household.
Therefore, his
Hold on. So this man's household was kind of cooked.
And my son killed somebody when he was 12 years old.
while Sheldon
Damn.
was the only one in his family who had functional hearing.
My mother's deaf. My father's deaf. My sister's deaf. My aunt is deaf. I grew up in a deaf household.
Therefore, his father, a drug dealer, brought Sheldon along to help him translate deals, and by the age of 12,
Yeah, hold on. So you telling me that this nigga was deaf out here trapping? Oh yeah, the little jit nigga throwing up gang signs and shit, throwing up little little hand signals to try to sell drugs, bro. And he's like, yeah, this shit not working. These people not catching on. Let me go get my son, bro. That's crazy.
Sheldon had joined the exact same line of work.
I started selling drugs. Guy offered me an opportunity to be a lookout, and I would just stand there, and eventually I just slowly moved up the ranks. It turned
Queens Defenders.
into this person that I was never meant to be.
As a result, he began to rack up charges.
Driving without a license,
Selling drugs will do that.
on little small petty drug cases.
And spent most of his teens in the Rikers Island prison, although it'd be after his
Damn, that
release
shit
at the
huge.
age of 21 that things went downhill badly. He'd commit 2 different armed robberies, receiving a sentence of 50 years in prison, which Josh argued was incredibly unfair, given only one person received minor injuries.
He got hit in the head with the gun right here on the side of his head, and he got 2
Dang.
stitches, and they gave him 25 years for that case. Did you
Yeah, he pistol whipped somebody. Crazy.
him in the head? No.
Regardless,
he
prison is
didn't.
where Sheldon realized he had to turn his life around.
It was at that moment I really said I have to change my life.
Prison to make a nigga lock in. I ain't gonna
A
lie.
prison journal about hope, change, and reform. In his entry letter to my younger self, it explained just because you're surrounded by violence does not mean that violence is the way to solve your problems. Sheldon, 2 wrongs do not make a right. Violence only begets violence. Learn how to respond and not react.
Dear younger
In a different
self.
entry, he'd stated state. As we know, I'm currently in prison, which I've learned does one of two significant things to its occupants. Brings the best out of them or the worst.
I saw individuals who were at their worst, and I saw guys who were at their best. The guys who were at their best were guys who were involved in education, post-secondary education programs.
Realizing the role model prisoners were those with an education.
Yo, that's true though. Like, boys go to prison and they start reading. I mean, because there's nothing else to do. I never been. But like, people that go to prison, they either come back fat, muscular as hell, smart, or Muslim. Like, they go in there and they lock in.
Spent years educating himself.
I got into school, I got my GED, and then I went on to obtain my bachelor's in behavioral science from Mercy. I stopped smoking weed, I stopped smoking cigarettes. I started working in the law library.
Smoking cigs is crazy.
I had a knack for complicated things, case law, and I was actually helping guys get out of prison.
He'd further add to his journal, I have grown dramatically in these 14 years, when I could have easily withered away. I've learned that I love Shakespeare, that I love acting, that I love writing, that I enjoy reading philosophy, that I love reading criminal law, that I love writing legalese. Sheldon had changed his life to such an extent, BuzzFeed advocated for his release back in 2016.
Damn, the glow up, crazy. BuzzFeed? Back in 2016, BuzzFeed was crazy. BuzzFeed's still kind of crazy, but 2016, BuzzFeed was crazy.
He became a model inmate, said David Roth, a prison social worker. His days were so full that he went to bed exhausted and fell asleep immediately. As a result of his good behavior, Sheldon was released after 25 years of his 50-year sentence, appearing on a podcast called Success After Lockdown, on which he implied that he'd never go back to prison.
Bro, he really looked like Stevie J right here, bro.
When he'd appear on Joe Rogan 1 month later, Sheldon again implied that he wouldn't go back to jail.
Individuals who have been shown to acquire associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees are like 92% less likely to return back to prison.
With Josh using Sheldon as an example, that change was always possible.
How do you make change?
Now they gave him aura.
He's living it and making it happen. Look at this beautiful mind. How he articulates himself.
He began working for the Queen's Defenders, helping troubled youth.
I'm trying to catch these kids before they fall, and I want to show them the way.
And even began to consider more formal education.
That's important though, bro.
Sheldon asked me, should I go to law school before we came here?
In the process, expressing his disbelief that he'd turned.
As much as I'm like, yo, bro, don't do no dumb stuff to go to jail, I'm not advocating for jail. But if you go to jail, if you end up in jail, prisons is not meant to like make you wither away. Well, they are, but they're supposed to be like rehabilitation centers. Like, you're supposed to come back smarter, but in America it's different. Like, you're supposed to come back making better decisions. You're not supposed to come back, like, come out and then go do a crime again. Like, you're not supposed to be like, all right, I caught a body, I went to jail, I did that, I can do that again. It's like, no, you're supposed to come back rehab. Like, places like Sweden do it, but out here, you're cooked. It's all money.
Life around.
I just came from the bowels of hell. 25 years in prison, and now I'm in the sky above the clouds in the heavens, headed to a destination to talk about change and to talk about all of the things that brought me to this place today.
Joe Rogan even posted a clip titled, Sentenced to 50 years, Sheldon Johnson decided to turn his life around. However, Sheldon would make one final important claim.
Okay.
This is how fast your life can change from just one simple mistake.
This became reality only 38 days later.
He claimed that he had turned his life around after spending most of his adult life in prison. In fact, last year, he started
Torso?
for the Queen's.
Hold up. Torso found? It says torso. Nah, my boy chopping people up. Ain't no way. Ain't no way, bro.
Public Defender's Office. Well, now he is accused of killing a man and then dismembering his body.
Sheldon was childhood friends with a man named Colin Small.
He had to crash
who
out.
Also spent over 10 years in prison. Therefore, upon Sheldon's release, Small was helping Johnson get back on his feet. However, at some point, their friendship took a turn. On the 6th of March 2024, police received a call from a tenant who lived in New York, claiming to have heard 2 gunshots from Colin Small's apartment as well as a voice begging, "Please don't, I have a family." Police drove to
Damn.
the flat and knocked on the door, only to find Sheldon Johnson inside, who claimed that Colin Small had apparently gone upstate. Well, police searched the apartment and found half of Colin Small's body, finding the other half back at Sheldon's apartment, in addition to concrete and a Tyvek suit.
My boy was finna get not busy. I don't want to say busy. He was finna get busy though. He was finna bury him, bro. I watched Blacklist. I watched a lot of these crime shows, bro. He was trying to get rid of my boy. He definitely had a pair of black forces.
CCTV outside.
You could have just not smoked them, but you can't control that stuff sometimes.
Entering and exiting, trying to conceal his identity with a range of different disguises.
Torso in the trash bag?
These stills he's seen wearing the exact same jacket as he was in a photo he took for the Queen's Defenders. Sheldon was therefore arrested and charged with Colin's murder, screaming "I'm innocent" as he was placed into the cop car. Sheldon maintained this innocence all the way to court.
Yesterday, Sheldon Johnson pleaded not guilty to the charges. He had quite a few supporters.
Dismembered, bro.
As the comments on his episode changed overnight. Imagine being locked up for being wronged by the system for over 25 years, only to prove that the system was right.
Nah, bro. This is why I hate the internet, bro. This is crazy. Cause, yeah, like imagine like you really like got locked up for something you didn't do, and then like you go out there after you get out and you just do it. You just do it. That's crazy.
Amazing. The judge who gave him 50 years must feel pretty smart right now. "I really believed I was gonna die in prison." Well, you're not wrong, buddy. Sheldon's own father stated, "I'm surprised my son was arrested. I was shocked. He learned and studied in prison for 26 years. He is a good man. He was doing work in a law office. There were no problems, but I doubt nobody was as shocked as Josh Dubin." He ended Sheldon Johnson's episode stating,
I'm very thoughtful in who I bring on. I think this was one of the best ones yet.
but is still yet to talk publicly since Sheldon's new allegations. Joe, on the other hand, talked about it recently.
He was guilty before, and we knew he was guilty, but he got 50 years.
Right.
And then he was talking about he turned his life around this like a month after he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Cut some dude's head off. Homie didn't understand new HD security cameras.
Theorizing that prison had only made him worse.
Was that because he spent 25 fucking years in jail, which is an insane amount of time to
Yeah.
be locked up in a prison and then expect to acclimate.
That's crazy. Like, bro just really, I guess, came full circle. Changed his life. I ain't gonna lie, his life was kind of crazy. Everybody in the crib is deaf. His pop is a deaf drug dealer. My man's over there with genjutsus and shit. And then he goes to jail for some like crazy stuff. Does a shit ton of time. He uses that time to like better himself, and then comes out and is like successful. He starts changing other people's lives, and then he just kills somebody. Mental health is real, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm out. Subscribe.